Hello, STEM girlies! Welcome back to Computer Shians, the podcast that connects ambitious and driven girls just like you to the trailblazing women of STEM. Our guest for today is someone who's been a two-time ISA finalist, SDS finalist, Research Science Institute scholar, Congressional App Challenge winner, and founded the global organization She Can. So get ready to be inspired and join me in welcoming Sophie Chen. Currently studying computer science, economics, and molecular plus cellular biology at Harvard University, Sophie's here to share her incredible journey, experiences, and insights with all of us today. So whether you're exploring a career in STEM or just looking for inspiration, this episode is packed with wisdom you won't want to miss. Let's dive right in. So, Sophie, you've accomplished so much at such a young age, and I would love for you to start by sharing with our viewers a little bit about yourself, maybe your background and your high school years.
Yeah, of course, Kashika, and thank you for having me. So my name is Sophie Chen, and I'm a current freshman at Harvard. You did a great job introducing me, but regarding my background, I come from Shreveport, Louisiana, and I went to high school in Caterpillar Pioneer High School. So I graduated in 2024, and now I'm studying at Harvard.
I know you're studying computer science, economics, and a little bit of biology. So, what classes are you taking this year? Anything related to those?
Yeah, so currently I'm taking 4 classes. One of them counts as 2, so technically it's 5. My first class is LS50. It's called Life Sciences 50, and it's essentially like a mash of like biology, chemistry, physics, yes, statistics, like basically every general like science topic under one class. And it's a really unique experience because I think there's a lottery to get in, and there's like 40 students per year. So I have like had a really great experience being able to learn so many different subjects under so many different like wonderful professors. So that would probably be my favorite class. I'm also taking a machine learning class at MIT right now, so I'm dual enrolled. It's called 639D, which is the Intro to Machine Learning class at MIT. And I had a really great time taking the course. We had our midterm yesterday, so that was really fun. And then my other 2 classes were like XBOS, which is basically a required writing course that Harvard makes their freshman undergrads take every, I guess, like for the first year. And I'm taking Econ 10B, which is, the general like economics intro to macro course that every econ major is probably going to take.
Do you know which field you're planning on majoring in? Which one are you liking the most so far?
Yeah, of course. I currently I'm thinking I'm probably want to do a double major in computer science and molecular biology, and I'm thinking of minoring in economics. I think it's because I have much more of an interest towards like biotech related fields. I really like exploring the intersection between computer science and biology, so that's why I want to do a double major in these 2 fields. Econ I'm taking as a minor because I think it's really important to understand like how our government and how our economy works as a whole. So it's definitely a little bit of a side quest for me, but I am considering like going down that path in the future.
Amazing. Yes, with like econ, anything with economics and finance in general too. Like it's so nice to know even if you're not going to have a job related to that. It's just so great to know for yourself. So,
Yeah.
how did you first venture into the STEM fields that you're a part of? How did you find yourself interested in computer science, cellular and molecular biology, and then economics as well?
Yeah, of course. So I guess like I had a very prevalent, like I was very fortunate to have a background growing up that was very like STEM oriented. So my dad is a pathologist, and when I was younger and living in Florida, he used to like work at this lab where he did a lot of like molecular or microbiology research. So I got a lot of exposure to that at a young age. I remember like one of my key like memories was being able to look at an electron microscope and be able to like observe sections of mice cornea, and that was just like so mind-blowing to me. I thought it was really, really cool. So I was always pretty interested in biology. Like I would take a lot of bio courses in middle school, elementary school, high school. I did science fair very early on. I think I started like my first science fair project was in 3rd grade, where I did like a really simple, like does salt or sugar melt ice the fastest or something. But I would say I was always very curious in the sense like willing to try new things. I really loved the experimental like research process. So I guess that's where my like bio interest came from. CS was more something I developed later on over COVID. I was really bored, and I was like, I actually think it's cool how people are able to code up stuff and I don't know, like write these magical lines of code that make like computers do really cool functions. So I taught myself CS over the pandemic. I taught myself to like code in Python specifically, and then started working on projects, and that's how I got more interested in CS. And then I realized like there were a lot of cool applications of like CS and machine learning in bio fields, and that's where I started to like really appreciate the intersection between these two subjects. Economics was more of a very surprising turn. Like I think one of the reasons why I got into econ was because I went to Harvard. Because I guess like I always considered myself to be like very STEM oriented. I never considered ever being in like a more like social sciences, humanities driven field. But after trying out the class, I realized like this is something I'm actually pretty interested in too, which is really great. So that's why I don't know. I'm interested in all these subjects. Yeah,
Uh-huh, and that's so cool. So, with your biology interests and computer science interests, I love that you found that intersection between the two. That's something that I'm really interested in as well. So, I love that about us. And then
yeah,
with computer science, cellular and molecular biology, like these are all considered relatively hard subjects. So they're definitely on the farther end of the spectrum. So you have to be hardworking, study well, put in all of that repetition. We all know that. But do you think there are any underlooked qualities not mentioned or talked about as much, but still extremely important for achieving success in STEM?
yeah. That's a really great question. So I feel like whenever you're considering STEM related fields, you tend to like stereotype people in STEM fields as like people who are very like good at math, and people who are really good at like quick thinking and like intuitive, really good at exploring new subjects. But I think one of the most like underlooked and undervalued qualities is the ability to just like not be afraid to put yourself out there and just like start off at the very like dead end beginning, like at the rock bottom floor. Like you just have to build yourself up. And sometimes it's really scary to just start off at the bottom. Like you might think, you know, there's so many people who are like so much better than me. Like why should I learn how to code when there are people who can like write so many better scripts than me? Like I don't like being at the bottom, right? But I think it's a really important skill to have, like to just not be afraid to, you know, start off being not be afraid to ask questions or like have mentors or just even if talking to your peers would help you. Like I think that's a really important thing to have. So I guess just like don't be afraid to start off with no background at all. Like don't be afraid to like have these like building blocks and slowly build your way up. And it's a really hard process to kind of get there eventually. But yeah,
Amazing. I actually love that. So, for sure, whenever people are starting off in a field that they're completely new to, especially something as rigorous as STEM, having the willingness to put in that repetition and just kind of start off with nothing, like you said, and just start from the bottom up is a great quality to have. So, thank you for highlighting that. So Sophie, you've had the incredible achievement of being a two-time ISA finalist in high school, and you've earned a spot as an STS finalist your senior year. So could you talk a little bit about your research experience in each of these three things? Did you have three different projects each of the years you did this, or were they similar? We would love to get to know more about that.
yeah, of course. So I think like one of the proudest achievements I had leaving high school was like being an STS finalist. Because I always remember like when I was a freshman, sophomore, junior, I would always like watch these live streams of like the general STS finalist award ceremony. I would like look up to the people who were on that stage and be like, wow, hopefully I can be there someday. I can be in their shoes. And actually getting that spot was really rewarding. But the process to take there was to get to that part like was kind of it was a lot. It was pretty tedious, but really fun as well. Like I learned so much. For ISA, two times I qualified. I used two different projects, and then as my STS project was also like a different one apart from ISA, and so most of these projects were centered around computational biology. So I did a lot of like machine learning applications to bio-related problems. My two projects I can group under like computational pathology. So my very first project that qualified for ISA in my sophomore year was a deep learning algorithm to detect benign and malignant glands in uterine cancer. So that was something I had worked on my own, like individually, and it was a really great learning experience because that's where I think I gained a lot of my like knowledge in the field of machine learning. My second project was my STS qualifying project. It was an algorithm to identify like squamous cell carcinoma in hillside images. So squamous cell carcinoma is like a type of skin cancer that's very prevalent in the U.S. and across the world, and that was like the project I probably spent the longest time on actually. I interned at Dartmouth and I was able to work with pathologists and machine learning experts to build up that model. And it was a really good experience. And then my most recent project, my senior year project at qualified for ISIF, was an algorithm to essentially like separate sound in multi-sound environments. And I worked at the MIT McGovern Institute for that.
Amazing. Those all sound like wonderful projects. So, thank you for sharing those. A little
Yeah,
bit shifting off the whole research side, I know you've also founded the organization She Can in high school. Could you share a little bit about what motivated you to starting this and what it does in general? What impact has it made on not just the people that you're impacting, but also yourself?
yeah, of course. So I came from Shreveport, Louisiana, so it's a moderately like I would say our education is not the best if you compare us to the other states in the U.S. So we kind of have like a bad rep for STEM education, I guess, specifically. And growing up there, I didn't really have a lot of resources to kind of explore CS machine learning research. I remember when I was a freshman, I was like, I really want to work in a lab. I really want to work on like CS models, but I didn't know anyone to contact. I didn't have anyone to look up to. Like the people in my school didn't really do machine learning. We had a lot more like bio research. So I guess like I was pretty lost in terms of like who I could surround myself with or who I could look up to because I was in this little bubble in Louisiana where like I just didn't know anyone. And so that was like one of the most challenging experiences that I had in high school in terms of like wanting to pursue my interests. And I realized like it's probably like that for a lot of other girls out there, you know. And I noticed that people in like more underdeveloped regions in Shreveport didn't even have like they didn't even know what ChatGPT was at the time, and I was like very flabbergasted about that. I was like, we really need to, you know, show them what these resources are and kind of like reduce like that gender gap in terms of like STEM related fields. So that kind of inspired me to start like an organization in Louisiana where it's called She Can. It stands for like pointing her empowerment in computer science, ambition, networking. So I really wanted to like have these girls like be introduced to these fields that they typically wouldn't have the chance to, especially like such like male dominated fields. So I worked with a lot of local organizations and I was able to like host a lot of after school programs. And we did a summer program as well where we taught kids how to code, starting with Scratch and like very basic level, just kind of a way to get them curious and like interested and potentially like, even like see themselves in the future in these fields.
Yes, I love that. I love your name too, She Can. It's kind of like computer Sheins.
Yeah.
So I know you've also won the Congressional App Challenge for developing the mindfulness app Positivity, correct? So what was your journey like coding and designing this app, and how does it help users?
Yeah, of course. So the Congressional App Challenge was something that my school actually like put out for us. I didn't really know it existed until like it was advertised, I guess. But that was actually my first time developing an app. Like I had no experience whatsoever. I haven't taken any courses before this, and I was just like, how to even develop an app. So what I did was like go on Swift. I watched a bunch of tutorials. Like I don't know, failed a lot. Spent a couple of nights like suffering through like errors and bugs, and but eventually it was a really cool experience. Essentially, what positivity is this like mindfulness app that kind of has a it wasn't really a machine learning algorithm. It's just some sort of platform, mostly like front end development, where I was able to build like this journal where the user could kind of like log their emotions and stuff, and they can record like their moods and like how they felt throughout the day, and then there are like, resources there available for them to kind of access. Depending on like how they were feeling, you know, that tells them like, how do you take care of your mental health better, how do you like rest, and how do you have more like mental health resources available in specifically Louisiana. Because I think like another issue that I noticed in high school is like mental health is widely stigmatized in our community, and it was really important to kind of be more aware about that and make the resources more accessible. So that was kind of what my app was like. Yeah, I really enjoyed designing it. I think that really taught me a lot about what I was interested in. That I really like front end development because I was like I really like building and being able to like see like the results, you know, of how like this block looked or this functionality worked out. I like designing the user interface and making everything look pretty. I think I remember using like a nice green color, and it made me really happy. But yeah, it was definitely a great challenge opportunity, and I definitely recommend like anyone who's interested to try out the Congressional Art Challenge.
For sure. Positivity sounds like a great app. Your high school years must have been really busy with your research, your organizations. In general, how do you balance your time between school, your extracurriculars, and your personal family friends time?
Yeah, I think like high school is a great time to learn how do you have that like balance between your social life, your school life, and sleep. I remember one thing I heard, like this rumor about junior year of high school or something, was you can have three options: getting enough sleep, second is having a social life, and third is being like academically, I don't know, like an academic beast or something, and you can only pick two. And I definitely think that is true in some way if you have a lot of trouble like managing your time, but you can definitely still have all three. I don't know if I had much of like a really great social life. I think I had like a decent one, but it wasn't like a, I'm like gonna go partying every weekend or whatever. It was a lot more of like balance. I think it's really important to know like when does your body need rest. I think it's important to prioritize your health first, and definitely like block out time for friends and family. I remember there's like this one quote that my dad would tell me all the time. One piece of advice: it's like you got to squeeze out your time like a sponge. You got to get every drop of that time, like every minute counts. And you don't. This doesn't mean you have to always be on edge, but it does mean you need to like be more well aware of the time. Like don't doom scroll on Instagram for too long. I remember I think I like deleted TikTok and then like never installed it again because I was like, this is actually ruining my like balance in life. So just maybe block out time on Google Calendar. I know like a lot of college students use it, so starting in high school is a really great habit to build. Um, but yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, I love that saying, squeezing out every moment of your time. That is awesome. I love how you phrased it that way. And then
Thank you.
definitely deleting apps and like creating app limits is so helpful. I've started doing this pretty recently actually, and it's just helped so much in controlling my screen time and making sure I don't just mindlessly scroll away. So, those are some great tips. And high school years can be so formative. So how you spend them definitely matters. What are some of the leadership roles or internships or opportunities that you've leveraged during high school that helped shape who you are today?
Yeah, of course. So I think like the leadership roles that I took in high school were definitely very transformative in helping shape who I am today. I would say in middle school as a very like shy, not really outgoing girl. I loved reading fiction books in the library. Like I was that book nerd, like the most stereotypical Asian girl with glasses book nerd you could possibly think of. And so when I went to high school, I was like, this could be a fresh slate. Like I've never been in high school before. I don't. It's gonna be a new like era, I guess, where I would be able to put myself out there, like try new things, and not be afraid to, put myself in a position that typically wouldn't. So I guess like funny story, I ran for class president freshman year because I was like, YOLO, like I do know these people, but like I don't really care. And I somehow won, probably because it was like COVID, everyone was at home, and I was really good at campaigning and like making these really brain rotted posters that everyone thought was funny. So being elected, that really gave me a sense of empowerment because it's like, oh wow, people actually want me to be class president. I somehow got this role. I don't even know how I did. Like but it gave me the opportunity to kind of put myself out there, like represent my class, talk in front of like a crowd of people that I usually would not have talked to before. And that definitely taught me to be a bit more extroverted and outgoing. Like it's okay to be like goofy and it's okay to be yourself. Like it just really helped me to turn from kind of like introverted to almost extroverted, I guess. And then like some other leadership roles I did. I started a club for mental health advocacy. It's called Active Minds. It was a really like fun experience because I got to like lead club meetings. We got to do a lot of cool activities, promote like mental health and destigmatize the conversation surrounding it. And I guess like all of these leadership roles and opportunities definitely like helped me grow so much as a person because it was definitely very uncomfortable at first. Like, you know, I remember like the first club meeting I had, like I scripted my entire speech of what I was gonna say to everyone. And then I realized like that's not how you talk to people. Like you need to talk to people like more conversationally. I guess like you need to be like it's okay not to be perfect all the time or mess up or stutter or have a lot of connecting words those stuttering words that make you sound unprofessional because the point of being the leader in these like top roles is just like making sure that everyone is able to feel comfortable in the space that you're representing, I guess. So that definitely was a transformative experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds so amazing. I love that you mentioned when you're first starting to be a leader, it definitely can be really vulnerable. So, by leading all these clubs, you definitely gain a lot of communication skills, a lot of confidence too. So, I remember at one of the clubs that I lead as well, when I first had my first meeting, I wrote down every single thing I would say like in full sentences on my slides. So, I would just like read off those slides, and I was trying so hard to make it so perfect. But now, I think after you get more experience, I don't even have to reference my slides anymore. It's just like little bullet points, and you can just go on and talk like you would naturally. So that is a great thing that you highlighted. Uh, High school is great, but I'm sure college presents even more opportunities. So, Harvard is known widely for not just being a great academic institution, but also presenting a lot of opportunities for its students. So, what do you think is one resource or opportunity you found most helpful from your college experience so far? And how do you think it's helped you dive deeper into any of your research or computer science interests?
Yeah, that's a really great segue and a really great question. So I'm going to be cliche here. I'm going to say that the one like resource I found most helpful are the people. Ha ha ha! I know that's really like cliche and cheesy and whatever, but I'm being so for real. Harvard is just like I think what really makes it unique is just the environment that is shaped by the students there. Because I'm gonna like have a hot take here, but I feel like Harvard, in terms of what it offers, like for like classes and stuff, it's not that much different from like other colleges that like Georgia Tech or like Chapel Hill or Stanford, like whatever, these whatever schools that, people fiend over in high school and want to get into. But I like all these resources are available online. There's a thing called Google, there's things called like edX. I know like MIT has their courses open software. But what really makes going to this institution unique is like you won't really get to meet these people anywhere else except in college, right? Some of these people are like, I know someone who like dropped out a few days ago to work on a startup, but some of these people are really like just unique in the sense of how they think, what their aspirations are. Like you surround yourself with people who are so like self motivated and willing to try out things that they never would like you never would have imagined. Coming from like Louisiana, where I didn't really have a lot of competitive like opportunities and stuff, like this was just I guess culture shock in a way because I got to meet so many people in different fields. Like I learned so much just from conversations alone, getting to talk with people. Like, so definitely, I would recommend people who go to college to like get to know the people around you, like learn about what they're up to, like what kind of interests do they have. It's really a really great opportunity.
Yeah, I know. Even though it is cliche, it is so true. Like you are the average of the five people you spend the most time around, right? We hear that all
Yeah.
the time. So I'm sure that makes a difference being surrounded by self-motivated people. So that is great. With every amount of success, so with anything anybody can accomplish, there's always challenges and failures that come along the way, right? Nobody has a super clean, perfect path. Could you share a time where you faced a significant obstacle in your journey and how you overcame it?
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna share like my college freshman fall semester was actually very recent. So I definitely overcame a lot of challenges in high school, but I think like the largest like challenge I had was first year of freshman fall of college because I guess like college alone is a very transformative experience. You're suddenly a legal adult. You're 18. You're free from your parents controlling you and telling you what to do and making sure you don't like stay past your bedtime or like whatever. Like you have free will all of a sudden. Like you can go wherever the crap you want. You can take the red line all the way to Boston and like go to a museum or spend your day frolicking. Like you don't have to go to class because attendance is not required sometimes. And it's just really hard all of a sudden having that newfound freedom and being able to, have your own like work life balance and be able to regulate yourself. Because I guess like maybe there are some people who are like, oh my gosh, I have my life planned together. I'm gonna like block everything on Google Class, like Google like calendar. Like, I'm gonna sleep at 8 p.m. and wake up at like 4 a.m. or whatever. That does not happen. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna be that kid who's gonna wake up at 6 a.m. every day. That did not happen. So freshman fall was like a huge, I guess, like setback for me because I realized like, hey, I'm like, low-key not the smartest kid in the room here. Like, culture, like no way, like that's obvious, right? That I don't know. I was like, I guess this makes me sound like egotistical, I guess, but I was like decently at the top in high school, which is why I got into Harvard. And then coming to Harvard, I was like, dang, everyone here is so smart, so amazing, so accomplished. They're working on things I would have never dreamed of. Like there's people I know who are like interning at like top paying tech companies this summer, or like working on a startup that raised a bunch of money, or doing groundbreaking research, or making these like public policies, or being in like DC and passing a bunch of legislation. It's just like so much and so cool. And so like that period of time was where I struggled a lot with academics because the class is really hard for me, and I was like, I don't understand this piece set. It's taking hours for me to finish. I didn't do well on my midterms as well as I had thought. I was like, dang, I got like a C on my first midterm. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? I was in shock and in denial that Sophie Chen, me, could get a C on a math test because I was like that Asian kid who was like supposedly decent at math. And then I come here and bomb my first midterm. So that was definitely like a challenge that I faced. But it was, I guess, like it gave me a reality check because then I was like, I'm in a new environment now. It took me too long to realize that, but I'm in a new environment and it's okay to fail because honestly, this is cliche again, but like failure is where you learn your most. Through this experience of failing my midterms, I was like, well, not like failing, but doing poorly on them. I was like, okay, I need to reinvent how I study because in high school it was a bunch of like cramming last minute. Like I remember studying for AP psychology in 2 days and like taking a test after. You can't really do that here. Like you actually have to build really strong study skills. So I guess like, you're going to encounter failures, but that's how you grow and that's how you gain character development, I guess. That's how you level up.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love how you phrased kind of realizing that, oh my gosh, maybe you aren't the smartest, right? It is definitely a huge shock for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really glad you mentioned having more of that free will, that free time. And when you're having a lot of this unstructured time, it can be so hard to kind of tell yourself, oh, I gotta focus or I gotta do this, when you could just be like out and about partying or even like just like watching Netflix the whole day, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
so much you can do. So, how do you think you've found more of a balance? Like, how do you manage your time now? Do you end up actually waking up early now, maybe using alarms, calendars? Have you found anything that's helped you?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge amount of like trial and error, I guess. First semester was a lot of me like I was okay. I low key, this is weird, but the whole entire first week of Harvard, I was always at MIT because I was in denial that I chose Harvard and not MIT because I was like, I actually like MIT better. So I would spend so much time there, and I would forget that I actually go to Harvard, and I have to go to classes, and I have to wake up on time and go to school early, um, attend classes, and actually like listen to the lectures. So I guess like what really helped me was the reality check from my grades. I was like, oh shit, like this is real. Like I can't just keep failing my midterms. So I would start to kind of block out time in Google Calendar. Like Google Calendar will become your best friend. Like I'm not even joking. You're gonna have that tab open 24/7 on your laptop. But I developed this like habit where every Sunday I'll start to block out not really like block out every second of my week, but at least block out the important times. Like, oh, I know this piece set is going to be due on Friday. I need to be on top of my deadlines because if I'm not on top of my deadlines, it's over for me. Like, I need to make sure I have this assignment due and I need to turn it in on time or else I'm not going to get any credit at all. Just basically having an overview of what's ahead for the week so you know what's going on. Like, how much time can you allocate? Like, it's just really important to like block it out and balance it. And you don't have to be a perfectionist. You don't have to have every minute planned out. I actually don't recommend like chunking. There's like a way some people will chunk out like all 24 hours of their day, like including their sleep, including their lunch, or including their friends break. And it's normal to get off task. And it's normal to maybe spend an extra hour or 30 minutes like talking to your friends instead of doing your PSET. But in general, if you know what's to expect ahead of you this week, then you should be okay. And it's just like a lot of trial and error. You just gotta keep trying and I keep regulating myself. And then I would like to give one quick piece of advice when you go to college. Like, make sure you're on top of your shit like at the very beginning because if you get behind the first 2 weeks or something, like it's really hard to catch up because college moves by really fast.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know time blocking can help a lot. And I love that you mentioned leaving gaps. When I first started time blocking, I would block out every single hour. Like not even hour. It would be like 6:15 to like 7:15 I'll do this and 7:15 to 7:30. It was
Yeah.
so packed. So then if you get behind on one thing, then it's just like a downhill trail. You're gonna be behind on everything else. So leaving gaps is definitely really helpful. I second that. Um, so this is actually a recurring question among a lot of our viewers. Everyone has big dreams, everybody has these amazing plans, Google Calendars all blocked out, but resisting the temptation to spend away full blocks of time on our phones can be a struggle for many. So what are some tips you would give to your younger self for prioritizing getting work done?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something I currently struggle with because After my midterm yesterday, I went on my phone and doom scrolled for a solid 2 hours on Instagram Reels because I deleted TikTok. But I would recommend, yeah, let's see. I don't know. That's something I'm still figuring out. Like when you go to college, you're not gonna don't expect yourself to be like, wow, I'm like a changed woman slash man. Well, probably woman because this is a female podcast. But anyways, I would just say like sometimes I realize I find more joy in spending time with my friends, like actually being away from the screen and hang out with people in person. It gives me much more, I don't know, joy than just doom scrolling on my bed for 2 hours. But obviously, like, it's just very easy to do because short form video content nowadays is so addicting and it's designed to be addicting. Like, that algorithm learns off of your addictions and will continue to feed you brain rot until, I don't know, like, you just like spend a solid day on reels or whatever. But let's see. I am so bad at time management that I ended up getting a phone jail on Amazon. It's a literal jail. Like you'll put your phone in and then you'll set a time, like 3 hours or something, and then you lock your phone and you physically cannot open it no matter how hard you try. And I guess like having a physical barrier is great for getting you off your phone. But if you want like apps to block like Instagram on the websites and stuff, I recommend this app called Opal. I think it's really great for blocking and it gives you like a really cringy motivational quote every time you open Instagram. It's like, nice try, but Sherlock Holmes doesn't want you to go on Instagram. You should go do something else, whatever. But yeah, just like having these self-regulating tools. Also, keep in mind like what are your goals, do you think you can spend these 2 hours on reels doing something else, or would you rather like spend these 2 hours hanging out with friends after you finish your P set? Isn't that much more gratifying? Like being able to distinguish between like short-term gratification and long-term rewards is really important, so definitely recommend that. It's hard, it happens to everyone, you're going to do scroll, you can't avoid it, but if you can learn to regulate yourself a little bit more, that little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, that's amazing phrasing. So, for our last question of the podcast, if you were to have a heart to heart, girl to girl conversation with an aspiring girl in the CS, bio, business fields, what real unfiltered advice would you give her? It could be about anything.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm still figuring it out too, and like I still talk to a lot of people that I look up to, upperclassmen. But I would say, just like, don't be afraid to put yourself up there and like be confident. I guess be confident in yourself because I feel like when you get to a really high stakes competitive environment, sometimes you get this imposter syndrome feeling like you're not good enough or you're not ready to like try this field or you're not as advanced as these other people or you don't know as much or your background's different or you come from like a small state where you didn't have like a whole private institution, private high school education where you were given private tutors that taught you everything under the sun. Um, just like embrace that year's learning, embrace where you are, and don't be afraid to just like start at the bottom because everyone starts at the bottom somewhere, and sometimes you just forget that because you go on LinkedIn and you see everyone like dropping their internships for the summer, like, oh my god, hey everyone, I'm going to work at Amazon. Think like that's so amazing. Like you don't see how much work they put into it. You don't see how they start off like lead coding and struggling with that lead code and like getting all these problems wrong and just like those nights in frustration staring at your screen. And so just like don't be afraid and just be confident that you can get there as long as you put in the work.
I love that. So, this does bring us to the end of the podcast. A huge thank you to you, Sophie, for being so open and authentic with us today. Your stories, tips, unfiltered advice, and little tidbits of humor were absolutely inspiring and so motivational. It was such a privilege to have you on Computer Science. So, to all our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with your friends, and leave us a review. It helps us connect more ambitious girls to amazing STEM role models. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars and chasing those dreams. See you soon on Computer Science.